Hey guys, I hope everybody is staying healthy and is doing what you need to hopefully get this thing going quickly and out of our sight so we can hopefully get to see each other back at school soon. I'm using this makeshift office here, and I decided I would do a Zoom because there were some questions that people had last week that I had to do individually. So I thought I would just hit everything at once and also give you the last piece of your lesson so that you can see what it looks like next week for what we're going to try anyway for the next weeks that we're going to end up probably doing this. I want to show you, I got my little buddy over here, Zach. He just kind of hangs out on the beanbag while I while I work. First thing, I appreciate everybody getting in contact with me. There's only a couple people out of each class that I still am trying to get with. So if you happen to, keep in contact with each other and know anybody that really needs to get with us, then let's go ahead and do that if you don't mind helping. A couple of things I wanted to hit from last week. I had a lot of people sending me questions about how they're supposed to turn in work. And as of right now, if you think about it, I've got 75 Algebra 2 students. And if I require not only the work that I'm having that I'm going to grade, but if I require you to submit something to me by taking a picture and uploading it or something like that, that's a lot of emails that I'm going to be getting on top of all my classes that have questions and things that I need to help them with. So I've decided that for that independent practice part, which will be in the middle of the week kind of thing, so you'll learn the lesson on Monday, and then you'll do an independent practice where you'll either have the answers or you can get the answer somehow. That is where if I get anything from you, I would like for it to be questions or like somebody this week, this worked out great. She took a picture, had a question, took a picture of her work and where she got stuck, sent me a picture of that on my text. I was able to figure out what she needed and send it right back to her. So shout out to you, Andrea. Thank you for using that option. And that's really, if I say to send me any picture, that's really the only thing that I need. I'm going to leave it up to you, to be honest, and to do your work like you're supposed to. The way I'll know that is really how we're doing on Friday or Thursday, Friday, whenever you end up doing your big ideas or whatever's going to be assigned for that week. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the camera off and I'm going to show you kind of how the week looks with the OneNote. And really, if you're ever not knowing what you need to do, you can just pretty much go to your OneNote, and I'm going to try to keep this up, or I'm sorry, I will keep this up every week so that you can see what is happening. So like this week, we're going to try this out, see how this works. You're going to watch this video that you're watching right now. Hopefully you get that part of the instructions in. And then after you watch this video, I haven't created it yet. I'm just starting with the video, but I'm going to then just ask you a few questions that if you watch the video, then you would know what the answers are. So kind of like how we used to do our warm-ups. So you want to take very good notes. I'm going to try to keep it in your workbooks. I know that's something you have. So any lesson that I can, I will try to do that. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, you have for this week, we're doing the puzzle time activity because it covers all the types of rationals that we've worked with. So it will have simplifying, multiplying, and dividing all together. During this video is when I'm going to teach you division, so don't freak out that you don't know that yet, but you will. It's very easy. Let's see, and then at the end, this is where I'm saying just keep up with your work. I don't need to see that as of right now. I definitely want you to hold on to it in case I do see you, but you're also going to need it for whatever I want you to do for a grade. All right, and then here I'm working on getting office hours sessions. So this I'm still building. I will get that information. I'm going to try to do something on Wednesday. So I'm thinking of something as like a Zoom meeting sort of thing where it's just open. You can join if you have time to join or if you want to. Otherwise, you can always take the pictures and send those to me. So I'm thinking for you guys, and I'll write it out and let you know for sure, but I'm thinking Wednesdays at 10 and then again at 1, I'll have office hours open where you can just join in if you want to. Don't have to, that's just if it works in your schedule. And then by Thursday and Friday, I have given you one big ideas lesson. It's not going to pop up until Wednesday. So when you get to that, just do the best you can on there. That's another time where you can take pictures of your work. If you do your first submission and it's not right and you can't figure it out by the second submission, then send me a picture of what you've done. Please don't just say, I don't know how to do number 5, because I don't know what the questions are. I need to see, I'm answering a lot of questions here, and I've got a lot of different classes, including the online class that I teach. So I need you to be specific and have a picture of whatever it is that you need. So you can send that to me and I can generally get it back to you with no problem. On this one though, I have a little note here. When I show you the examples here in a minute, I'll show you what this means. But it says, remember that the exclusions are only for parts that cancel, not the ones remaining in the answer. So the book does it a little differently. So your big ideas is going to follow the book from what we did last week with the exclusions. So I will show you that here in just a minute. Okay, so one question that I got last week a lot was about the work. Again, for the independent practice, I want you to keep it. I don't need to see any of your work. I have enough. I have to give you 2 grades a week. One of those will be, for this week, will be Monday, that you watch the recording and answer the questions accordingly. And the other one will be the big ideas. So that just kind of sums up the week, and that's really all that I need. If you're doing what you're supposed to, you're going to be able to do fine on that. I kind of separated it by the days. You don't have to stick to this. This is just a general guideline, because I know some of you have told me that you're working odd hours due to this situation that we're in right now. So you don't really necessarily need to stick to this, but you need to have everything done by Friday. Okay, so that is when I will be taking your grades. Also, I had somebody asking about grades. We were told that we cannot actually put in grades for a few weeks. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping up with them by hand. And then when we're able to input grades, which I'm thinking is going to be the end of next week, but I don't know. We'll see what they say. But when we get to that point, the reason is because we want to get in contact with every student. There's still several students that don't have access to internet, or we're still kind of MIA and we're trying to find them. So as far as that goes, I am keeping your grades. Don't think that because you don't see it on CrossPoint, I'm not keeping them. I actually am. We just won't be entering them until later. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is, let's see if it'll let me do this. All right, I want to now go into, last week I had some questions that hopefully you can see this here. We have some questions on the worksheet that we did. So I wanted to take a moment and go over this. This is why I took the video off, because if I didn't have to hold this and write on it, you'll be able to see straight up my nose. And I'm sure that is not something that you want. Let's see. No. All right. So what I'm going to do is go over these really quickly, these particular questions, and hopefully that will help some of you that had questions. I know this number 25 does something that you're probably going to see quite a bit in your practice for this week. So we're going to start by factoring everything. So we're going to, I do not like this. We're going to make this a little bit smaller. There we go. We're going to factor the top into, that's a difference of squares. So x plus 4 times x minus 4 over, we're going to leave this as 9 minus x for now. Okay, we'll come back to it a little bit later. And then up top, I'm hoping you're seeing already that this is going to be x plus 10 and x minus 9, because that multiplies to give me negative 90 and it adds to give me positive 1, which is exactly what the factoring is if you go back and remember that. Notice I'm giving you mainly trinomials. I'm not going to give you anything that's crazy. Like the difference of squares and trinomials is pretty much what I'll stick with for now. So we have on the bottom here, x plus 4 and x plus 10. Okay, now is where we can start canceling some things out. So we see this x plus 4 cancels, x plus 10 cancels. Now, if you notice here, x minus 9 and 9 minus x don't actually cancel. They're close. If I could make one of them switch, so like I can take this denominator here and make it negative x. What that does is it factors out a negative, making my x value positive, and my 9 will become negative. So now I have this, if I factor a negative out of the bottom, now I have x minus 9, which cancels with x minus 9, but I have this extra multiple of -1. Okay, so when I write my answer, it's actually going to be negative of x minus 4. Oops, x minus 4. Okay, so everything else cancels out. I don't have to worry about anything there. And then you want to list your exclusions. Okay, so in this case, I'm going along the denominator, and I see that my exclusion here, let's get another color, my exclusion here is going to be, ooh, I don't know if you can see that. Let's try this one. Okay, my exclusion here is going to be 9, because that's what makes it 0. My exclusion here will be -4, and my exclusion here will be -10. Since all of those canceled out in the problem, I will list all of them as exclusions on Big Ideas. Okay, I'll show you in a minute an example that doesn't happen in. All right, so for 26, I'm going to factor out a GCF up top. That would be 10x. And if I take that out, I'm left with x minus 2. And the denominator, my GCF, is actually 40 and x squared. I think some of you may have been thinking smaller, but you do want the largest number that goes into both. And then that will leave me with x minus 2. All right, and then over here on the top, we have 16. Right, hold on, let me check. I'm sure you can hear my calculator in the back. Yes, so it's 16. So we have 16x squared, and that will leave me with x plus 5, it looks like. And on the bottom, I'm going to take out 6, and I'm left with x plus 5. Oh, that's the fun part of looking at. Okay, now we're going to cancel out everything that matches. We have x plus 5, x plus 5, x minus 2, x minus 2. Now, though, we have some things that still cancel. So I want you to think about the x's first. This x squared and this x squared cancel. That's nice. Perfect. Then we have, I like to do also the numbers, or you could just multiply straight across. Actually, let's do that. So we're going to do 10x times 16. When we multiply fractions, we can multiply straight across, which would be 160x. And then that's going to be over 40 times 6, which is 240. Then that is what I simplified to get my final answer. And so that's where some folks had some questions and texted me about last week. That's where I get my 2x over 3, because 160 over 240 reduces to 2x over 3. All right, and then my exclusions this time are going to be, see how everything in the denominator that could make the 0 is canceled out? So we're going to give everything as an answer. So this x squared, if that were 0, the whole bottom would be 0. If the second one were 2, the whole bottom would be 0. And if the last one were -5, the whole bottom would be 0. So you want to list all 3 of the exclusions. Okay, and again, that's because they all canceled out. Okay, so now that was a review from last week. Now let's look at in your notes, we did only simplifying and multiplying. We did not do division. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm just going to use the rest of the examples out of your workbook on page 204. Numbers 7 and 10 were the 2 division problems. But if you can do everything we've done so far, you can do division. The only thing for division that you need to remember is there is no such thing as dividing fractions. And I think we've talked about this earlier in the year. There's no such thing as dividing because we change it into multiplication. So we're actually going to use what we've learned before called KFC. Keep it, flip it, change it. Okay, so this one they've already factored for us. We're just using this as an example. So we're going to keep the first fraction. Sorry about my pen noise here. There's nothing I can do about that on these. I know it's really loud when you do the video, but there's nothing I can do about it. You just have to kind of, not think about it. So we're going to keep it. We're going to change it to multiplication. That's what the C is for. And then we're going to flip the second fraction. So we're going to take everything that's on the bottom and write it on the top, along with everything on the top, write that on the bottom. Now we're going to start to cancel. So we have x plus 1 and x plus 1, x minus 6 and x minus 6. Nothing else cancels. Okay, so here's a perfect example of what I need to show you for your Friday's assignment. On the numerator, we're left with x times x minus 9. On the bottom, we're left with x minus 2. Okay, so when I list my exclusions this time, we are going to have what the book does for some reason. Technically, 2, -1, and 6 are all of my exclusions, but the book does it where you're only answering the non-obvious. So it's obvious in my answer that 2 is an exclusion, but they want you to list the ones that are not obvious. So you're only going to list the ones that you cancel out. So in this case, that's going to be -1 and +6 coming from here and here. Okay, so that's kind of how you'll do that when you get to the work and big ideas. All right, so now let's do one where we have to actually solve and work at the same time. So we're going to notice that it's a division so that we know to cancel. In your practice, they're all mixed up. So sometimes you just have to remember when to do KFC and when not to. In this case, I will because it's division. So up top, I'm going to have, let's see, x plus 3, nope, x plus 5 times x minus 3. That multiplies to give me -15 and it adds to give me 2. On the bottom, I think we're going to use 8 and 5. So x minus 8, x plus 5. We're going to change this to multiplication, and when I flip, I'm going to try to factor at the same time without being confused. So I'm going to take this bottom piece and I'm going to factor that on top. So I'm going to use, let's see, 9 and 8. So x plus 9 and x minus 8 is what will go on top. And then on the bottom, I'm going to take this guy, factor it in the bottom. So that would be x plus 9 and x minus 1. Again, it multiplies to give me -1, adds to give me a +8. And now the fun part. We're going to cancel everything we can cancel. And then notice again, my answer is x minus 3 over x minus 1. My exclusions are going to be listed again only from the things that are crossed out. So that would be 8, -5, and -9. Okay. All right, so hopefully that answered a few of your questions. I will again get your office hours ready just in case anybody needs it. But again, you can text me work. Make sure you have the work first. If you want to do that, that is perfectly fine. And I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe. Keep in contact with me. As soon as we can put grades out, I will let you know and get those updated as soon as I can. All right, I hope you guys have a great day and stay healthy and happy.